Good evening, and welcome to the Town Council meeting of Monday, September 12th, 2022, here in McKinnon Council Chambers. Relative to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, and for the benefit of the public, this meeting is being recorded both by video and by audio methods. I'd like to start the meeting by having a moment of silence for the victims of the 9/11 terrorist attack 21 years ago. I think it's appropriate that we remember the victims, the lost souls, and also the first responders that gave their lives in a valiant effort to save their fellow people. Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Adams, present. Councilor Daniel?
Present.
Councilor Dow?
Present.
Councilor Lazo?
Present.
Councilor Marchetti?
Present.
Councilor Montigny?
Present.
And Councilor Rivas?
Present.
Councilor Ryan?
Present.
Councilor Steves?
Present.
Present.
Very good. We have a quorum. Item number 3, consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, August 22nd, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 4, subcommittee reports. General Government, Councilor Steves.
We just had a meeting of GenGov. We talked a bit more on the drone bylaw, and we decided to postpone it till January. We don't have yet another meeting scheduled.
Thank you very much. Department of Public Works, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a DPW subcommittee meeting on August 30th. Agenda items number 14 through 18 are on tonight's meeting agenda. We voted to approve change order number 3 to the Ludlow contract for South Street Water Transmission Main Improvements and Road Construction Project. We voted to approve change order number 1 to the Piapi Construction for Road Improvement 2022 contract. Voted to allow deer hunting in the town's watershed. We voted to transfer funds to cover increases in license and stipends costs per the new DPW union contract. We voted to approve change order number 1 to West Street Infrastructure Project for allowance for paying flaggers when police and traffic constables are unavailable. We also discussed the status of the hiring of new DPW director, the town engineering assistant, status of the Main Street repairs, and road improvement plans for 2022. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for September 21st. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Education and Human Services, Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you. We did have a meeting last week. We have agenda items number 11, 13, and 22, which resulted from that meeting on tonight's agenda. We also had a great discussion in our first joint meeting with the leadership of the school committee. They provided us a great report, and they fielded a lot of questions from us and the public. It was very fruitful, and I look forward to those being continued on a monthly basis. I thank School Committee Chairwoman Martina Shea for coming and attending and listening to us and giving us a wonderful update. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Planning and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had a meeting on September 7th in the Veterans Room. Agenda items number 10, 19 through 21 are on tonight's agenda. I'll speak further when we get to it. Thank you.
Very good. And Protection of Persons and Property, Councilor Lazo.
No report at this time, no meeting scheduled.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, Chairman's Announcements. I have no announcements at this meeting. Item number 6, Town Manager's Announcements. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of announcements this evening. One, I did send, it was discussed at the joint DPW meeting that we had last week. Councilor Marchetti alluded to it. This afternoon, I did send out an email to all the council members regarding the meeting that we had today with Lynch. The meeting was attended by Mr. Desjardins, our interim DPW director, Greg Russell from VHB. We discussed their latest proposal. Where we are right now is that Lynch has indicated they will take care of all the items that we had previously put on our punch list, and they have agreed to do a 12.5 millimeter mill and overlay from Cumberland Farms down through Everett Street, and it would take care of all the seam issues there. It will go 1 foot away from the curb on the hill going down, but as we get to Central Street, Elm Street, it would go curb to curb. The reason I brought this up tonight, I wanted to give you a heads up. We're getting close to cold weather coming again, and they wanted an indication of whether we would be amenable to those terms. I know our next meeting is not until the 26th. We would not have Mr. Desjardins there. Therefore, I would ask if people would get back to me with any feedback so that we can let Lynch know what direction we want to go, because they said if they wait any longer, they're afraid of paving into the October-November season to having the same problem as last year. They said if we go back any further, they're going to recommend that they wait till the following season to take care of it. So I wanted to give you an update. I don't know if we would want to have some type of meeting in between then to discuss it, or what. I see Mr. Marchetti has his hand up, but I wanted to get you this information. This is the first opportunity we had to meet with them. Got it to you this afternoon. I wanted you to be able to digest it and then give us some direction as we go back to speak to Lynch.
Will you take questions on this issue?
Sure.
Okay, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I did receive the email. The only question that I would have is this surface that they're going to be putting on, is that going to be compatible with the surface that's there now?
So yes, in my layman's understanding, what they originally had was this larger 12.5 millimeter stone in the mix, which is more durable, and they originally did that because of the issues that we had on the hill in front of the church in Cumberland Farms, where the trucks were essentially cupping the pavement. So they want to use this deeper mix. At one point, they proposed doing a 9 millimeter mix, which Mr. Desjardins and Mr. Russell both felt would not be in the town's best interest, because it wouldn't be taking the wear and tear or be as durable for us in the long run. Also, cosmetically, we would have two different mixes of pavement in the downtown. They indicated that our side, Mr. Desjardins, Mr. Russell, it isn't the prettiest pavement, but it's what's used on the highways and much more durable, and because of the truck flow that we do have through the Main Street corridor, that would be the best option.
Okay, thank you. And as far as doing it in October, I don't have a problem with it if it's done in October, early October. That's a good time of year to do it. It's probably not as hot. You're using hot mix. If it went beyond that, then probably you should wait till next spring. October, early October, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
They want to put the cutoff as the first week of October, so they wanted me to get back to them as quickly as possible so they can put it in the queue.
All right, thank you. I'm all set.
Councilor Steves, then Councilor Lazo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if what they're saying is essentially they're still going to end up having two versions of pavement there because they're stopping at Cumberland's. And I know when we did the walkthrough, Councilor Marchetti was there, I was there, several of the rest of us were here too. We raised concerns about their paving all the way up to the South Street rotary, the South Street intersection, which is where their project started. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way through. So this is basically ignoring a third of the project that still needs work. What do they intend to do about that? Because that was one of our complaints all along, that there's so much messed up about this pavement from day one. And they've been dilly-dallying this and basically holding us to the fire when they're the ones that are responsible for this. I'm not happy.
So the response and the back and forth has been, what responsibility are they willing to take on for their role in the the seams and the paving being the way it is now today. So they owned up to a fair amount of things, but they don't think they're fully culpable in all this because they feel, and this is the impression they've left me, and I think Mr. Desjardins would concur, is that because of the changes that we made, including doing upgrades to the water lines and changing to a full depth repavement in different areas, it put the final paving deadline out closer and closer to the cold weather. So they feel that the town, this is them again, feels the town bore some responsibility. So we've gone back and forth a few times. We've got them to come up a bit more on what they're willing to do in terms of paving, but it sounds like this is where they're drawing the line. They said they will do the whole thing, but they want the town to contribute financially to doing it all the way up. And if I'm saying anything wrong, Mr. Desjardins, just give me a yes or a no. That's okay. So he concurs with what I've said. So this is what they feel the extent of their responsibility is. They can do more, but they would want the town to pitch in to go all the way uphill. Now, other options could be, to approach this as a contractual issue, but that could take longer and could also incur legal fees if we went that route. So just looking for some guidance.
What would our options be if we were to accept what they're saying? I'm assuming it would depend on the actual language of the agreement, but, and kind of reserving our rights to continue to put pressure on them to do the rest of the job.
Point of privilege. I cannot hear Councilor Steves.
I asked what the requirements are. I mean, would we be able to reserve our rights to pursue additional work from them if we were to accept this agreement? I would assume that it depends on what the language actually is, but obviously we haven't seen it, so.
Well, at the moment, this is a negotiated disposition, so to speak, as to how to amicably resolve our differences. I think if we made any type of acceptance of the work they do, they may consider that as their final responsibility. I could get you an opinion from council if you wanted, but if our options are, if we don't like this, I think the next step you may find yourself is having our lawyers contact their lawyer.
Okay, thanks.
Very good, Councilor Lazo.
There's a couple of things. Under any scenario, I would not pave it this year. I saw that DPW finally patched it with hot patch. Going into October, anytime you go into a construction season with paving, concrete, or any material that's hindered by weather, you would like to be heading into the summer, coming out of the spring, or out of the winter, coming into spring, summer, then going into unpredictable areas with October. So I'm not in October. I don't support it under any scenario. As far as, it's great to point fingers on whose fault it was, and this is what happens when you have no oversight on the road. Yes, we did have changes. We wanted those changes. The council takes full responsibility for those changes. They were good change orders for good reason. At some point, your paving contractor should have come to us or our experts in that area and say, don't pave it. Well, if you don't pave it, the manholes and the covers are already raised, it would be hell to plow. So you're in a quagmire here. If you paved it, it made it easier for the plowing in the winter, but at the same time, it was cold rolled. So there's plenty of blame to go all around. What is the best for the town of Southbridge? Let's get the street straightened out. If there's one thing I've learned in life, when you make a mistake, learn by it. We made a mistake. It shouldn't have been paved in the cold. Whoever call that was, whether it be Lynch or our DPW director, our engineer, it's water over the dam at this point here. Most of DPW is leaving. We have nobody to hold accountable. We're holding the bag, as we always do as councilors. So I do concur with Councilor Steves that I'm not happy with it, but in most settlements, they usually cut the baby in half and try and make everybody happy, so to speak. So for myself, we're in a tough position. No matter what the final outcome is on the deal, we must do it in the springtime. I would urge all councilors to lean that way. As far as, what is the right thing to do, they have to repair. I saw the email. There's a tremendous amount of repairs they're doing to curbs that everybody complained about. There's plenty of grouting and all the other construction terms that they said they were going to do. I don't think it's a bad deal, but, I'm a Southbridge guy. I'd like more for the money, but, let's go for going forward. That's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Councilor Steves.
Yeah, to follow up, you had mentioned that they were talking about being willing to pave to within a foot of the curb in some areas and all the way to the curb in other areas. So what do they plan on doing with that section that they're only doing to a foot away from the curb? What about the extra foot?
I think Mr. Dujardin is probably better positioned to answer this than me.
I think the town manager misspoke a bit when he said a foot from the curb. The proposal is to start at the Cumberland Farms entrance and mill out the, so they made 4 passes with the paving machine through that area. They're going to mill out the 2 center passes and 1 foot or 1.5 feet beyond that seam. So it probably will be closer to 6 to 8 feet probably, or maybe a little more from the curb. It'll just be the center lanes through that area, and it'll widen out at Central Street and Elm Street where there's some problems with the pavement that are obvious and visible. And it'll go all the way to the curb in those areas just to capture those bad areas. And then also at the intersection of Everett Street near the post office where there's some other issues, they'll go all the way out to the curb.
So how will they handle the spaces beyond that section? The stuff that they did
By
pave
leaving it as is.
Because I think we saw some issues with some of those areas as well, as I recall.
There are the seams have a appearance that's not as smooth as we would like to see or we would typically see on an average job. That's a combination of factors, including the cold weather paving and the polymer additive that was used, and which a polymer additive is usually used on straight runs on highways versus where they have to work around curbs and around structures. So yeah, the appearance of it is not ideal, but this will take care of the areas that have the most structural, that have the structural problems. I don't see the rest of the project having serious structural problems or durability problems or serviceability problems. So I think this is, since it's their final offer before we have to pursue other legal settlement avenues, I think this is the best choice at this time.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you. I would just like to put this behind us, get it done and put it behind us, that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I think it all sounds like the best compromise we're going to get, and to do it quicker, we should agree to it, but wait till next year because there's a good chance that the same thing will happen again if we start to do it in the fall. But schedule it first thing in their 2023 schedule makes a lot of sense to me. Thanks.
Very good. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Few things. I do not like patches. They should do the whole street over. That's not their first job. I'm sure the experts, all these years, they did different job, different highway, different road. They know when they pave in the winter what's going to happen. Southbridge residents deserve better job, better road. Excuses don't help. They need to do the whole road over. They're responsible. When we give them the extra work, they accept it and they charge money. They didn't do it for free. They were so happy because They are there, their equipment there, they was making money from the town of Southbridge, and now because they messed up, they pave when it's cold weather, now they're gonna put it on the town of Southbridge? No, they need to pave the whole road and do it right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Manager.
I wanted to update you a little bit on where we are with regard to hiring. We're evaluating some resumes right now for DPW director candidates. I'm utilizing the assistance of some other area DPW directors to review those. I sent out an RFQ last week to several of the engineering firms that we work with for essentially what is called on-call engineering services, so that we could have a firm that could come in a couple days a week to oversee some of our projects until we could get a permanent town engineer in place. And I have been talking to some individuals about interim DPW work. You'll hear this evening from Mr. Wassiak, our candidate for the DPW director. We have new staff, public health director. Sorry about that.
Congratulations.
You just got promoted, right?
You got promoted, yeah.
We have two new hires in the town manager's office. Joy Wingard started this week as our confidential clerk, and we'll have our executive assistant starting in about 2 weeks. We're working diligently to fill positions. We have a new DPW candidate coming up this evening, and we have another one in the queue. The library has reminded me that September is library card sign-up month, and when libraries nationwide join the American Library Association to remind parents, caregivers, students that signing up for a library card is the first step in the path to academic achievement and lifelong learning. I would invite you on behalf of the Jacob Edwards Library to come over and get your free library card and start connecting. And best wishes from Margaret and all of her staff over there. I've been reminded again by Trash and Recycling that as of November 1st, there's going to be a ban on certain materials at curbside waste, including box springs and mattresses and certain textiles. After November 1, residents can call Casella again to arrange for some curbside pickup at $35 an item. They can also have the option of going to Oxford's transfer station. There will be a take-back day on October 1st for all Southbridge residents at Gulfwood Road from 8 to 12. Some of these items include mattress box spring for $20. Electronics will be priced per pound, and car tires will be accepted for $3 a piece, and textiles no charge. You can still get rain barrels through the Southbridge Health Department for $25 a piece, as well as compost bins are available through the Southbridge Health Department for $25. And there will be demonstrations on composting at the library from September 19th at 10 a.m. And yard waste collection will run from October 17th to November 25th. And there will be, lastly, a yard waste drop-off at DPW on November 25th. It'll be remain open, the yard waste drop-off, till November 25th. However, commercial yard waste is prohibited. Those are my announcements this evening.
Very good. Item number 7, presentations. We have a number of presentations this evening. The first one is a proclamation on Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Resolved by the Council of the Town of Southbridge. Whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection report cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among U.S. children between infancy and age 15, this tragic disease is detected in more than 16,000 of our country's young people every year. An estimated 400,000 children and adolescents are diagnosed with cancer globally each year. And whereas 1 in 5 of our nation's children loses his or her battle with cancer, many infants, children, and teens will suffer from long-term effects of comprehensive treatment, including secondary cancers. And whereas, founded nearly 30 years ago by Stephen Firestein, a member of the philanthropic Max Factor Cosmetics family, the American Cancer Fund for Children Incorporated, Kids Cancer Connection Incorporated, and Lions Club International are dedicated to helping these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection provide a variety of vital patient psychosocial services to children undergoing cancer treatment at UMass Memorial Children's Medical Center in Worcester, Boston Children's Hospital, Tufts Children's Hospital, Shriners Children's Boston, Dana-Farber Children's Cancer Center, Mass General Hospital for Children, as well as participating hospitals throughout the country, thereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection also sponsor toy distributions, Laughternoon, Laughter's Healing, positive appearance programs, pet-assisted therapy, KCC Supercar Experience, educational programs, and hospital celebrations in honor of a child's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. Now therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Southbridge does hereby proclaim September 1 through 30, 2022 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. and Mrs. Firestein for bringing this to our attention along with the Kids Cancer Connection Incorporated. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, our second proclamation tonight is for National Hispanic Heritage Month, and I will now defer to Councilor Rivas.
Through you, Chair. National Hispanic Heritage Month. Resolved by Council of the Town of Southbridge. Whereas September 15th through October 15th is recognized as National Hispanic Heritage Month, which is a time to honor the invaluable ways Hispanics and Latinos, Latinx contribute to our common goals, celebrate their diverse cultures, and to work towards a stronger, more inclusive, and more prosperous society for all. And whereas the observation began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon B. Johnson and was enacted into federal law on August 17, 1988, calling upon all the people of the United States to observe this time with ceremonies, activities, and programs. And whereas many immigrants of Hispanic and Latino heritage, especially from Puerto Rico, have established homes and businesses and make up a significant percentage of the population in Southbridge. And whereas the Hispanic and Latino community in Southbridge embodies the best of our community values, including commitment to faith, family, and country, and they proudly serve in our military and protect us as members of public safety. And whereas the Hispanic and Latino community in Southbridge has left an indelible mark on our government, culture, and economy. And whereas the Hispanic and Latino community in Southbridge continues to thrive through its culture and language. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Southbridge recognizes, commemorates, and proclaims September 15 through October 15, 2022, National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This evening, as we did last year, I asked a representative of the Latino and Hispanic community to come up and accept the proclamation. This year, I've spoken and asked our newest member of the Board of Health, Jasmine Quinones, who also works for the Kiva Center and who recently received an award from the Salvation Army for her outstanding service in the community, particularly to the Spanish community, by providing fuel assistance, food stamps, a variety of other hygiene kits, clothing, and vouchers for local grocery stores. And she exemplifies the commitment of that community to the overall residents of Southbridge, and I thought she would be great to have here this evening to accept that and to say a few words about her work in the Hispanic and Latino community here in Southbridge. Ms. Quinones?
Le presento esta proclamación a Jasmine Quinones.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Jasmine. I first want to thank the Town Council, Town Manager, Michael McCall, and my colleagues of the Board of Health for this meaningful proclamation that has been brought forth today. Myself, along with my colleagues at the Kiva Center, are humbled and grateful for the recognition given to us by all of you today. as I work daily to strive to be the voice for our Latino community, I will continue to do everything that I can to make sure that they feel that they are part and are included in every step of the decision-making process that my company is. They will continue to receive the utmost respect and be part and know that they are part of our community and a very important part of our community. I will continue to strive to be the voice for our Latino community, and hope that someday they feel all of the inclusiveness that this town has to give. Thank you again for this humble recognition, and I will continue to work very hard for our Latino community.
We have a proclamation tonight to be given for recognition of the accomplishments of Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan.
Thank you. This one I'm going to read in Spanish first, and then I will read the English version. Presentando al Wilfredo Pagan, resuelto por el concejal del pueblo de Southbridge, mientras que Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan, residente del pueblo de Southbridge y parte de la comunidad puertorriqueña estadounidense, fue premiado el cinturón del campeonato de peso welter de USA Boxing New England, mientras que el boxeador local Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan de Southbridge derrotó a su oponente a través de una decisión de 6 rondas en el Palladium de Worcester el 15 de julio de 2202 para ganar el cinturón del campeonato de peso welter de boxeo de Nueva Inglaterra. Mientras el concejal del pueblo de Southbridge desea extender sus sinceras felicitaciones al Wilfredo por su destacada actuación en el deporte de boxeo. Mientras que el 15 de septiembre comienza el mes nacional de la herencia hispana para honrar las culturas y contribuciones de los hispanos y latinoamericanos. Ahora, por lo tanto, el concejal del pueblo honra a Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan por su compromiso de representar a la comunidad puertorriqueña estadounidense y al pueblo de Southbridge en el deporte de boxeo con dedicación y perseverancia emblemáticas de nuestra comunidad, en honor a lo cual el concejal del pueblo declara el 12 de septiembre como el día de Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan en Southbridge. Por lo tanto, el testigo este día 12 de septiembre, John Daniel, el presidente del concejal de Southbridge. Wilfredo, si puede pasar acá. Now I'll read it in English, and then I will present the proclamation. Presented to Wilfredo Pagan, resolved by the Council of the Town of Southbridge. Whereas Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan, a resident of the Town of Southbridge and part of the Puerto Rican American community, was recently awarded the New England Welterweight Championship belt. Whereas Mr. Pagan defeated his opponent via 6-round decision at the Palladium in Worcester on July 15, 2022, to win the New England Boxing Welterweight Championship. Whereas the Southbridge Town Council wishes to extend its sincere congratulations to Mr. Pagan for his outstanding performance in the sport of boxing. Whereas September 15th begins National Hispanic Heritage Month to honor the cultures and contributions of both Hispanic and Latinx Americans. Now, therefore, the Town of Southbridge, the Town Council of Southbridge, does hereby honor Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan for his commitment to representing the Puerto Rican American community and the Town of Southbridge in the sport of boxing with dedication and perseverance emblematic of our community, in honor of which the Town Council does hereby declare September 12th as Wilfredo El Socorro Pagan Day here in Southbridge. In witness thereof, this 12th day of September 2022, by John Daniel, Chairperson, Southbridge Town Council. Muchas gracias.
Wow, I'm a specialist right now. I know also Jasmine talked to me about this, but I didn't expect them to be this outcome. You know, I'm specialist. I don't know much to say. I just want to say thank you. Thank you all for this recognition. I worked hard for this championship, just because that was my dream since I was a kid, become a professional boxer. And, you know, when I was a kid, my mom, she was afraid of boxing. Like a lot of people probably don't like the sport of boxing because they're afraid to get hurt, stuff like that. So she didn't let me do it. And then when I was 19 years old, that's when I started training, try to see what I could do in the sport of boxing, to see if I can achieve my dream to become a boxer. During this, wow, like 22 years since I moved here to this town of Southbridge, went to this gym, Uptown Boxing, managed by Dave DiGregorio, my trainer, my mentor. I worked hard to achieve my dream. Went to a lot of amateur fights, but then at the end, I was ready to make a decision because I wasn't getting any younger. So I was like, well, I asked him if I can at least do one professional fight and sit down together, and he said, okay, let's do it, you're ready for it. And look at me right now. I'm a New England welterweight champion from Southbridge, Massachusetts. And now on November 5th, I'm going to fight for another championship fight for the USBF, the United States Boxing Federation Championship. So thank you guys. Thank you, God, for this blessing. Oh, this is a blessing for my life. And I'm just trying to be like a sample for any people or any kid, anyone that have a dream in life. It's never too late. As long as you really want it from the bottom of your heart and you got the right team, everything is possible. Thank you, everyone.
Councilman Digny.
Thank you, and pardon my Spanish here, but muchas felicidades y bendición y gracias por representando nuestro pueblo con tu espíritu, para tu pasión y Dios los bendiga a tú y tu familia. Y gracias.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? I'd just like to say that I'm very pleased that we're able to have this proclamation today for the special day. If you go back in time in Southbridge's history, there's a rich boxing tradition, and it's nice to see someone step into the role of keeping it moving forward. And such a nice representative of Southbridge. Very pleased and very happy with that, and good luck in November.
Chair, can I just...
Councilor Rivas.
Through you. It was an honor for me to present the proclamation to you. Boxing is a big deal in Puerto Rico, and I can remember when I was a kid and watching boxing with my dad, and also having someone from your gym, Juan, teaching our students in the 21st Century program. And I think that being a role model to future generations in our community and students who can choose a sport and discipline rather than being on the street and engaging in violence. I think it's a big deal, and it shows, how you're dedicated and how you love our community here and in Puerto Rico. So thank you so much for being that role model.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I wouldn't mind getting a good look at that belt that he's holding. It looks pretty impressive. If he could come up and maybe show us, I'd like to take a look at it.
Oh, que suba a enseñarlo.
All right. That's pretty cool.
I like it. Congratulations. That was an excellent speech, by the way.
Thank you.
Yo quiero un retrato con...
I just want to get a picture. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck in your next one.
Very good. We had a fourth presentation scheduled for this evening. We have to postpone it at the request of the presenter, who was unforeseeably detained, and we'll move it forward to the next council meeting. Agenda item number 8, Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens that would like to approach the podium to speak on an issue not on tonight's agenda?
Donald Solinsky, Henry Street. On June 29th of this year, I was walking my neighbor's dog, Tyler Christian, that I have walked for several months. I was stopped by the ACO, Caitlin Spencer, in her cruiser, along with 3 additional police in additional cruisers, saying they wanted to seize the dog. I explained that this was not my dog, and I was just helping to care for him because Mr. Christian was working long hours. The ACO said, well, we have paperwork saying you took it to the vet. And I tried to explain I brought the dog to the vet because Mr. Christian was working at the time, and the dog needed immediate vet attention. But this was not my dog. She said it was your dog. I tried to present the license, but the ACO refused to even look at it. She said you are not supposed to have a dog, and this dog was yours. The owner of the dog, Mr. Christian, immediately went to the ACO and presented evidence that he was the owner, but she would not even look at the paperwork, saying it was out of her hands and would now be heard by the town council. Only after a demand letter from Mr. Christian to the board chair, the town manager, and the chief of police, he and his mother were granted a meeting with Chief of Police Shane Woodson and the ACO, but they both continued to refuse to look at any ownership evidence that Mr. Tyler and his mother had. After multiple emails and phone calls to the town manager, a month after taking his dog, he was finally contacted to have a hearing on the disposition of his dog. His dog was given back to him after a month in a kennel, but not before he had to sign an agreement that I could not walk or be near the dog. So in other words, I had a restraining order from the dog. He also had to pay $300 to get his dog returned. I have emailed the town manager asking this question: why is the town stipulating that I cannot have any contact with another resident's dog? Can I have an answer to that, Mr. McCall?
You want me to answer that? Mrs. Solinsky, I've given you that answer numerous times. You've asked for something in writing. You had a hearing back in January of 2021. You were found to have a nuisance dog. You were given notice at that time, you had counsel at that time, and you were notified of the consequences of your action if you violated that order. We had another council meeting in June of 2021 where there was evidence submitted against you that you violated that order. Part of those consequences that you were barred in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for having a dog for 5 years. It's right in those letters.
From owning a dog.
No, I'm going to keep going because I'm not going to be interrupted. Now, part of the reason that dog was seized is because it was unlicensed. There was no license at the time. But more importantly, what was brought to my attention was that there was paperwork filled out for rabies vaccination claiming you had ownership, and there was also a veterinarian report that was given to us that was filled out you as the owner. So if you're asking me, I seem to think you have a problem following rules, Mr. Solinsky, because you were here those 2 times and you were ordered not to have a dog. Maybe it's Mr. Christian's dog, he came in and provided certain evidence, but we said, we will license the dog and return it to you on the condition that we're not playing games here. That's essentially what we're doing, Mr. Solinsky, because you're not supposed to have a dog, but if you're out walking that dog every day, filling out paperwork at a vet, trying to get it registered, then there's something wrong here. So that's why when we returned the dog to Mr. Christian, we waived some of the kennel fees, and that was because we couldn't get all the people lined up for a hearing. We determined that it would be in the best interest of Mr. Christian, Rocco the dog, not to have any further contact with you.
I understand that. But by what authority can you stipulate for a person not to have contact with another resident's dog? Because there are numerous residents that would allow me to walk their dog, but they're afraid their dog's going to get seized.
Mr. Solinsky, you've been given numerous chances. I know this has come up here, and you come up here regularly, and I understand, but you're not supposed to have a dog. So, you know, there's a thing called constructive possession. When it looks like you're taking care of a dog 24/7 or out walking it all the time, and you're putting your name on paperwork, I have a problem with that. Our ACO has a problem with that, and our police chief has a problem with that. And I think members of this council probably have a problem with that. So the issue here was the dog was not licensed, and it looked like you were trying to take ownership of the dog. So we said to Mr. Christian, you can have the dog back, but no longer having contact with you because of what appeared to be a game that was being played. And those are my words.
Yeah, well, if you want to go by the law, people always want to say you want to go by the law. The law says I'm not allowed to own a dog. Right. It doesn't say I can't foster a dog. It doesn't say I can't care for a dog. I can't babysit a dog. Right?
But you claimed ownership on that paperwork. Your name was on the rabies vaccination claiming ownership.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just, excuse me for a minute. I think it's inappropriate for a back and forth conversation. You should address the town council. He has 5 minutes to do it. The chair of the town council can readdress it at the next town council meeting. I think this back and forth is going to go on too long, and at this point in time.
I understand that. But do you understand? You guys want to go by the law when it favors you.
Your question was answered. Thank you.
My name's John Pulaski, live at 87 Old Woodstock Road. Mr. Solinsky, I didn't see you at that meeting. I happened to have gone to that meeting that he's talking about, and it's just my opinion, but I thought our police chief and our town manager took extraordinary efforts to listen to everything that young Mr. Christian and his mother had to say. And I know they left happy and pleased because they were afraid they might lose their dog. The town manager and the police chief worked together. And I thought in a town, it took extraordinary efforts to make everybody happy as much as possible. Perhaps if Mr. Solinsky was there, they would have listened to him as well. But I know there's a lot of talk about this out in town when this issue comes up, and I was just pleased. It was one of the things that made me proud of seeing town government work that day. And if there's confusion on what the state law is, Mr. Solinsky could talk with his state representative and ask that that be reconsidered, and they may rewrite the state law. But it seemed like everyone left happy, and I didn't have no pun intended, a dog in that fight, but it wasn't even a fight. I like the way the two parties were treated, and also, I didn't mention the dog officer. She also seemed very patient and willing to listen to those involved. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Are there any other citizens that would like to approach the podium this evening? Please identify yourself.
My name's Kevin Buxton, 28 Columbus Avenue. I'm here tonight to speak to the council. I appreciate your time and effort to listen to our citizens on a variety of matters. Thursday night, I attended the meeting for the pay-as-you-throw meeting with the Board of Health. I was very impressed by the number of councilors and citizens who seemed to turn out. I've attended a lot of Board of Health meetings. There were quite a few Board of Health meetings where when it came to citizens forum, they would say, Kevin, you got anything? Because I was the only citizen there. I'm really glad to see the Board of Health up to full 5 members and working to help keep our community healthy, clean, and safe. They have another meeting this Thursday, and I hope to see continued awareness by the council and by citizenships out there that our Board of Health is very, very important to all of us. Thank you.
Are there any other citizens that would like to approach the podium at this time? Very good. Seeing none, we'll move on. Agenda item number 9. Vote to confirm the appointment of Conrad Letourneau to the Capital Planning and Facilities Advisory Committee for a 1-year term effective immediately through June 30, 2023, pending successful completion of the state ethics.
Second.
Very good. I had a chance to speak with Mr. Letourneau about his desire to be on the committee and his background. He's certainly well qualified. He's a very conscientious gentleman, and I was very impressed with his interview with me. I think he'll be a fine addition to the committee. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As soon as the town council voted in to have this committee, one of the citizen members, especially for the when it comes to financing, I know Mr. Letourneau has approached me before to be involved in the town and through the planning and development and other places, and he was the first person I thought of, reached out to him, and it was great for Ms. Harnoy and him to have a conversation, including with the town manager. So I just want to thank him for stepping up into this new committee. We look forward to seeing what you guys come up with and how you approach the decisions that you guys do make on your recommendations. But I want to thank another resident of this town for stepping up to the plate and volunteering their time. Thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Congratulations, Mr. Letourneau. Item number 10, vote to appoint Ruben Rodriguez for a 3-year term to the Economic Development Commission, effective immediately through June 30, 2025, pending successful completion of state ethics.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Rodriguez came in front of the Planning and Development. It was a unanimous vote in favor of bringing it up to the town council and voting this gentleman in.
Councilor Lazo, then Councilor Montigny.
I'd just like to say it's always nice to see citizens come forward, but the quality of experience that's stepping forward is unbelievable. I really, really am excited about this, and I think moving forward, it's going to be a good thing. Thank you.
Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of being, I believe, class advisor to Ruben in class of 2016, and I got to say that there's very few other fine young gentlemen that are more qualified for this than him. He's always been involved, always been the nicest person, and we're lucky to have him. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I also just want to say how excited I am to have Mr. Rodriguez get involved in the community. It's nice to see local grown, well-qualified people come back and want to give back to the community. I'm so excited to have some more young blood in this community. The next generation is stepping up and showing leadership, and, well, we got some pretty good leadership on the way. I'm excited. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Adams, then Councilor Rivas.
Just to close some of my remarks, I just want to let you know that after this appointment, there are 2 more in the pipeline that have shown interest in this committee, which is good because it hasn't been around for 2 years. So I'm glad to see this move forward, and quite a few residents have stepped up to the plate to voluntarily ask questions. Thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
I just want to say I've known Ruben since he was my intern and he was in the ASPIDA program, and really proud that he's stepping up to serve our community. And like many of the other speakers said, he's very well qualified, has done so many different things in different capacities as a real estate agent, and graduated from Holy Cross. But it's been a pleasure to watch his growth as a leader, and I think that we'll see big things from him. So,
Mr. Manager.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I had a great telephone conversation with Mr. Rodriguez. And what really impressed me the most, not only seeing his resume, but he had the ability to do an awful lot of things. He has his degree from Holy Cross. He interned with the Worcester DA here in Massachusetts, Senator Markey in DC, and also the congressman here in Massachusetts. But he said he had been able to travel. He listed on his resume that he went to Virginia and Haiti, and he said after getting all of this experience and broadening his horizons outside of the town of Southbridge, he wanted to bring all of that back here to put to use for his hometown. And I thought that was the most impressive aspect of what he said when he asked to serve on this particular committee. And I know he's here this evening, Mr. Chairman, but thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
Mr. Chairman, could Ruben Rodriguez please come to the podium and address the council? I would like to hear from him.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your kind words. Like Mr. Martinez said, I graduated in 2016, graduated from Holy Cross in 2020 with a degree in political science, and then a lot of things from then. I worked in Holy Cross in higher education, and I'm currently an employee in the Southbridge public school system. When I'm talking to high schoolers and colleges and college students, there's this narrative to leave Southbridge after graduating, and kind of, there's opportunities elsewhere, and hopefully I can be an example so that they can bring their skills and talents here to Southbridge, and we can retain talent. And again, I can hopefully bridge that gap and really kind of, again, be an example and kind of, again, retain young talent here in Southbridge. So again, if any of you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, but I'm really excited for the opportunity, and I thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Congratulations, Mr. Rodriguez. Item number 11, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of Daniel Wassiak as Director of Health for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30, 2025, pending successful completion of state ethics.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was recommended unanimously by the by the Education and Human Services Subcommittee. It was added on at the last second due to it being one of necessity. We needed a health director, and I appreciate the manager and the committee working so diligently to get this considered and reviewed before coming up here tonight. And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Mr. Wassiak's here this evening. We received resumes for this position. We interviewed for this position. He stood out among the other candidates that we looked at. We were fortunate to have him in. We had some members of our inspections and health department come in to sit on some of the interviews, and one of our members of the Board of Health sat in on the initial interview. We wanted to make sure, as I indicated at subcommittee, that we had a good fit fit with our existing staff and somebody who would work well in the community. Based upon his answers, his resume, as you can see, he has well over a decade of experience, more in the order of 15 years in public health, serving as a health director and a health inspector, and he has a lot of the certifications that complement our existing staff. I think he makes for an excellent fit, and he explained that he is no stranger to the field, which is important here, and a lot of the topics that he talked about dovetail very much with what we're trying to accomplish here, dealing with curbside as well as blight and other issues. So with no further ado, I would ask respectfully for your vote this evening for Mr. Wassiak to be confirmed as our next Director of Health.
Council Steves. Then
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr. Chairman. His resume is definitely impressive, and I had a chance to talk to him very briefly at the beginning. Would you mind if I ask a couple of quick questions? We also had an email from Maureen who wanted a couple of questions asked, if you don't mind.
I guess we would have Mr. Wassiak come to the podium.
Mr. Wassiak, would you please approach the podium?
First off,
Good
thank you
evening,
for
everyone.
First
I'm
off,
Daniel
thank you.
Wassiak. Nice to meet you all.
Welcome.
First off, thank you very much for putting your name in and for coming to our town and driving from.
Absolutely.
You live in what, East Hampton, right?
Excuse me?
You live in East Hampton, right?
I live in Wilbraham.
You live in
Wilbraham, about 40 minutes away.
Because you've bounced around in that area for a while, so yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to point out that we got an email from Maureen Doyle, who happens to be my partner, and I wanted to ask a couple of questions she wanted to know, which is what your thoughts are regarding the Central Mass Mosquito Control Project, if you're aware of it.
I am. I've had a lot of experience with mosquito control. Certainly in the town of Montague and also in the city of Northampton, where I previously worked. Enacting the mosquito control plans have been an integral part of the Board of Health and the responsibilities. I would say in the last really 3 or 4 years they've really come up. But the plan specifically to enact was to eliminate the application of restricted use pesticides. And I believe that's what you're referring to. That was something that was enacted through DPH and also DEP. And the Board of Health had that responsibility of essentially constructing a plan, an alternative plan, which would prevent mosquito-borne incidents of diseases. But ultimately what it does is essentially it will eliminate the need for possible spraying of these pesticides which combat, activity of mosquitoes. So with that said, an important aspect of the plan and a fundamental aspect is education and community outreach, and the plan will, and the ones that I've erected stipulate that the Board of Health will take measures in educating the public on protective practices to circumvent obtaining a disease such as West Nile virus or Triple E. So with that education and outreach purpose, it's important that the plan is true to the words that it has and involves. Simply just not, again, enacting a plan which indicates what may be done and what the hopes are, but this has to be a true working plan.
Right.
And so, again, my experience is to enact a lot of community outreach and do these presentations with the community and all the members pertaining to the aspects of prevention and promotion of public health.
Okay, I know she's specifically concerned about two aspects of it. One is the sort of generalized spraying that we have in the past done if the state does it versus the mosquito control program, so you don't have to do it all as broad spectrum as the state does it. And the other aspect of it is the concern about protecting agricultural crops and animals and those kinds of things? Because I know that's an issue.
Yeah, they have, you know, again, it's certainly based on a risk analysis that is done through the mosquito program, and again, the other entities of the state to really get to the point where application is warranted and necessary.
Right.
So when levels, whether either humans or animals contract the virus, predominantly the virus, or certainly if there's mosquito surveillance being done and they do find a higher level of activity or infected mosquitoes that are carrying these types of pathogens, then threshold is reached and application, over aerial applications are justified and have been justified. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of circumventing that, that's where you have to have a robust surveillance system to make sure that trapping is done of mosquitoes and testing. But certainly, as I pointed out previously, the emphasis is on education and outreach to the public to make them aware. And certainly not just, again, of prevention measures, but activities, weekly or monthly activities of what is actually happening in the field and communities surrounding Southbridge.
Right.
So it's really a regional challenge. Again, I'm from Western Mass, and we have not had as much incidence as out east or in Central, fortunately. But we still have to be aware, and our defenses are always up. Mm-hmm. So now the state does change yearly as to what approaches they may want to take. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully that answers your first part. So the second part, to protect agricultural entities from drift, usually spray drift.
Right. Okay.
You know, and those can, you know, those prevention measures are really reliant on the applicators, that they are, well, first of all, permitted and licensed and actually have the proper knowledge to apply such pesticides, whether
right.
they're restricted use, which do entail applicators' licenses,
right.
or not. You know, that's the Pesticide Bureau
right.
that does
right.
have that control and authority. You know, my involvement has been with a lot of DPW departments. Right-of-way spraying, they really
right.
have to make sure that there's plans that they have enacted
right.
and do take precautions.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think it's a concerted effort by many in the community and the government, and I think done right and followed through by the members, that will prevent any type of improper exposure
okay.
to these chemicals.
Right, exactly. And the other question I had is, I saw one of the articles talking about some of the issues that was going on between your Montague's selectmen and the Board of Health there. And I was wondering what would you consider to be good cooperation between the Health Department and the Town Council?
And the council?
Yeah.
I think, you know, I think really being transparent and establishing relationships. Mm-hmm. I've been on the both ends, certainly in Montague, where there has been disagreements on many aspects pertaining to the pandemic.
Right.
And that certainly was contentious all around. And as you all may have faced, the last 2 to 3 years have been a certain challenge for select boards, council, and certainly Board of Health. And with that said, I think it has to be a working symbiotic relationship, I said, especially in times of crisis like that, and certainly unprecedented challenges that were faced. Now, we were able to get through these types of of internal or intrinsic challenges within the individuals of the government. And I think it was an excellent opportunity for us to really learn and grow, in which we did, and not looked at as a crutch, but really use that to move forward and made us much better. So yes, again, the COVID era, which we're still in, but really in the heat of the pandemic, there was a lot of individuals that wanted to do the right thing, but many times didn't have a kind of a team effort understanding of it, that it takes more people than just one person to dictate what needs to be done, if that makes sense. But again, I think it elevated a lot of folks within the municipality, made them aware of what, again, these challenges are, and seeing through the clouds, we were all able to come together in a concerted effort, which was certainly to promote public health and prevent this disease from spreading. So,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Any more questions?
Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you. I received an email from Maureen Doyle as well. She's on the Conservation Commission. She was asking those questions, and also what you think of, do you have a wetlands bylaw in the town that you came from, and how do you work with that?
Excuse me, could you clarify, what type of bylaw?
Wetlands, a wetlands bylaw.
Wetlands, well,
Mr. Chair, excuse me. Point of order. We're here to
Councilor Adams.
confirm, we're here to confirm, gentlemen, tonight, not
Yeah,
interview the
I
gentleman.
agree.
No,
I
I'm not.
withdraw. If
Counselor,
he could get back to Councilor, or Miss Maureen
I
Doyle.
think
that'd
that's
be
where
fine.
we need to go and
Yep,
just
that's
confirm the gentleman, because I think the interview process has already taken place through the town manager and HR department, so we can move along and let this gentleman go for tonight. Thank you.
Point taken. Councilor Lazo?
If I may disagree with that point of order, we are the confirming body. The interviews are done, but we confirm the appointment of the town manager, and I think some of the questions that we have to ask will pertain to his confirmation. So I think that we have to, moving forward, cautiously, not just ramrod this thing through. There's no question about it. The gentleman is got a resume that I am thoroughly impressed. From Title V, which our previous person didn't know the difference between the septic tank and the septic D-box. This gentleman has more certifications and licenses, and I think that in questioning your resume and what you've performed is in line with confirmation. I just want you to know, as one counselor, I do not have any questions. I think your history and your background speak for itself, and moving forward with a full complement of the Board of Health, I think the sun's going to come out on the health side of the town of Southbridge. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking to support you and the Board of Health in the upcoming months. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Montigny?
Thank you very much. I think this is great. It was brought to EHS kind of last minute, and I'm glad it happened, and kudos go out to whoever is really responsible in the inner workings, the manager, the HR department. I mean, this is a great hire. Again, your resume is fantastic, but I have a lot of communication with people at the school department, and among all of the problems that we need to have resolved in the health department, the school is still in one more year of COVID protocol, and they have been dying for us to have a health director. So they couldn't come at a better time with the school's year just began a couple weeks ago. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item number 12, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of Gregory Nicola as DPW maintenance man equipment operator for an indefinite term effective immediately, state ethics and good standing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
We approve this 5-0. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Steves.
I just have a quick question. Is why are some of our jobs indefinite terms and some have 3 or 5 year terms? I've never understood that.
It seems to be precedent going back.
I just don't. That doesn't make sense for half of the jobs to be like 3 or. I can see maybe the directorships, but some of the other jobs also have them, and I just don't understand why it works that way.
I think that's something that perhaps can be looked at, and we
Maybe,
can.
yeah.
Mr. Manager? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Lazo.
I think indefinite means when you hire somebody, he doesn't have a life expectancy on his contract, like if he has a 3-year contract. I know that the union represents and they move forward with their benefit package and their salary lines, but I think they are appointed indefinitely, where some positions have terms to their contracts which they are up and have to be renewed. Just my opinion. But I do want to say that this gentleman here, I'm glad that we're filling these positions, and I think this gentleman is well qualified, and he comes from a good Southbridge family that has worked years in Southbridge. It's always nice to see Southbridge hometown guys getting the jobs. Thanks.
Would you like to address the council? Matt?
Sure. Greg has most recently been a valued employee of the school department on their maintenance team. He has extensive experience with landscaping and grounds maintenance and has a current Class B CDL. I was most impressed with his positive attitude and good disposition, and the DPW operations team and I are excited to welcome him tomorrow.
Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. Mr. Nicola, he's here tonight, and I think the appointment of the health director and this appointment here goes to show you that people do want to work in Southbridge, and Mr. Nicola actually used to work with me at the Southbridge Public Schools as well, and he even has done maintenance on my own classroom, so he is a fine worker, another nice gentleman from town, and we're doing the right thing again tonight. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Congratulations, Mr. Nicola. Item number 13, vote to accept the Department of Veteran Services fiscal year 23 grant package for the earmark denoted in the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act, effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30, 2023, in the amount of $50,000, and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor
For the
Adams.
vote, I need to recuse myself. Thank you.
Very good.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this was recommended unanimously by the subcommittee, and I want to thank Councilor Adams, who's recusing himself right now, along with Tracy and others for coming before the board and being here. I believe they're here tonight to talk more about it if there should be questions. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you please? Aye.
So in short, basically this grant is being awarded to the state, from the state through the town and through the Veterans Council, is basically in support of our initiative, which phase 1 is basically to refurbish and beautify the Elm Street War I Monument and Park. We're going to do all kinds of new lighting, new walkway, new picnic seating area, all ADA compliant, new sign, and pretty much we're almost ready to go, and with this grant, we'll pretty much be ready to break ground. Also I want to say, all the funds are basically managed by the town manager's office and the accountant's office to make sure we do everything in the proper procedure when we're doing our hiring process.
Would you please both identify yourself for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. Keith Roberts, Director of Veteran Service and a member of the Veterans Council.
Tracy Price. I'm the Vice President of the Veterans Council.
Very good. Any discussion? Councilor Lazo.
I would just like to say the Veterans Council is in good hands. I know my good friend to my left had to recuse himself, but we have a tremendous base of workers for the veterans in the town of Southbridge. It's been activated a few years ago by these people, and I'm just proud to be a part of it, and I'll be supporting this here tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Just two quick points of interest. It's my understanding, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, that we will have to use these monies first because there's a expiration date on these funds, so we have to use them initially for all the work that they're doing over there. But I also want to point out, want to thank Senator Ryan Fatman. He has been there for the town on numerous occasions. I know my office, but has reached out to him on several occasions for assistance with projects here in town, and I know that members of this organization and Councilor Adams have reached out to him, and he went out of his way to help secure this funding for the town of Southbridge, so I want to make sure he was recognized for that.
Very good. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? 8-0.
Thank
Thank you.
you so much.
I should try. Oh, here he comes. Item number 14, vote to approve change order number 3 to Ludlow's contract for the South Street Water Transmission Main Improvements and Road Reconstruction Project, extending the substantial completion date to 6/23/2023 with no increased costs, and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved. Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved, unanimous.
Matt.
Due to some delays, particularly with one water valve that prevented us from activating the new water mains, the valve was delivered about 3 months later than expected, and some other delays. We haven't been able to get through a settlement period on South Street, so we're recommending to finish up the underground work this fall and then to reconstruct the road in the spring. So this change order just bumps the completion date to next year to accommodate for that.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. My only concern with this is that we have these change orders and the construction company says there's no additional cost, but then the engineering company adds additional costs at the end. So that's one thing that was my concern on these type of change orders. I don't have an answer for that, but that is my concern. Thank you.
Very good.
We don't anticipate any increased costs from tie and bond due to this change order. There will be a few minor costs associated with the winter shutdown, adjusting some structures and shimming the pavement to make it serviceable through the winter. But those can be incorporated under an allowance that we already have under the contract, and we estimate that cost under $15,000.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 15, vote to approve change order number 1 to Pioppi Construction for road improvements 2022 contract, extending completion date of work to May 19, 2023, adding bid alternate number 1, Coombs and Moon Streets, at an increased cost of $134,915.50, funded from the Winter Recovery and Assistance Program, and adding unit costs for gravel and dense graded crushed stone, and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved unanimously.
So this would add Coombs and Moon back into the project. It was separated out as an alternate and not accepted originally because of concern over funding. Now that we have access to the Winter Recovery and Assistance Program funds that will go away at the end of FY23 if we do not use them, I'm recommending that we reincorporate bid alternate 1, which is Coombs and Moon Street, into it. using those funds. Now, we did already pave Moon Street under the original contract because we haven't had the opportunity to begin on Ellis Road yet. And we are planning to mill and overlay Coombs tomorrow. So I would recommend approving this so that we get those funds added back in so that we can proceed with Ellis Road as soon as possible, as soon as somebody's able to work with Mr. Piappi. And this also adds unit costs for gravel and dense grade crushed stone to give him some extra ammunition to work with on Ellis Road. No quantities are associated with that, so it doesn't have a cost increase associated with it, but any unused items, which there will be several unused items that are included in the contract, and those funds can be used to purchase those items.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. And I apologize if I've already asked this at the subcommittee level, but are there any plans for North and Mechanic Street?
Yes, I've already put in orders to Mr. Piappi for Mechanic and North Street, and he would like to get out there and start work before my last day next week. Hopefully that will happen, but either way, those roads, I believe, will be milled and overlaid this year, though this change order gives him some latitude. If we do more underground work, we'll want a settlement period, and we'll end up milling and overlaying them next year. But I believe the plan is to minimize underground work, focus on compaction, and mill and overlay this year.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 16, vote to allow deer hunting in the town's watershed lands starting on October 17, 2022 and ending on December 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you. This was approved unanimously at DPW subcommittee.
Very good.
The forestry management, the forestry guy that we've hired to coordinate timber harvest in our watershed lands has identified a serious problem with deer overpopulation and lack of oak regeneration. And the best tool that we have for that, to combat that, is to allow hunters in. This opens it up to hunting pretty much unrestricted. It's walk in, walk out. Other than that, and obviously you have to be properly licensed and use the correct tools. But other than that, it's pretty much open, which will get us the best results for reducing the deer population.
Councilor Steves.
Maureen and I went through a walk-in on that property. Primarily, we were looking at their plan, the overlapping plan to do some tree cutting back there. But we were also talking to Mr. Leonard, who's the man who organized both the tree cutting and the hunting plan. And I just wanted to point out that the water department is talking about having people park at the old caretaker's property, rather than at the water plant itself, just because it's such a long walk in there. So I think it's a good idea to get as much publicity out there as much as possible. So if you know anybody who's hunters and who have an interest in it, Mr. Leonard thinks that there are far more deer out there than the land can support, and there was a lot of stuff that's kind of become overgrown with stuff that they don't eat, like laurel. So this will help thin out some of the stuff that's out there that can maybe rebalance the plant community down there.
Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 17, vote to approve the transfer of $3,177 from account number 001-499-511000, DPW salaries and wages permanent, to account number 001-499-518300, DPW license and stipends, to cover increased license and stipend costs prescribed by new union contract and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved unanimously.
We have now paid out all licenses and stipend costs to our employees, and our account is in $3,177 in deficit. So this transfer would balance that account out, and there shouldn't be any other expenses out of that account for the rest of the year.
Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 18, vote to approve change order number 1 to West Street Infrastructure Improvement Project for $100,000 to add an allowance for paying flaggers when police and traffic constables are unavailable to fill details. The Chapter 90 cost estimate for this project already includes $200,000 for police details, up to $100,000 of which would instead be used to pay Ludlow for flaggers as required, and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was approved unanimously.
So this change order is similar to what we did with Ludlow on South Street, because at times police details were not able to be filled. We had to rely on flaggers through Ludlow, so it required a change order to their contract to cover those costs. But in the end, instead of spending money through payroll on police, we are spending money through the contract on flaggers. So in the end, it's kind of a wash, but we need the contract value increase to accommodate that. I think Shane also wants to
Good evening. Just because I know there was a couple of questions at subcommittee about this, so I wanted to come here just to explain a couple of things. So we have 31 constables right now. Out of those 31, the majority, as everybody here knows, are dispatchers, full-time professional career firefighters, retired police officers. Most of these men and women have full-time jobs or other jobs, so they're not available to work every day. This is only being done, and I thank you, Matt, for working with me on this, at an abundance of caution. I want you to hear that from me. It is highly unlikely that there'll be any flaggers ever working on West Street, but I don't want to have to come back and hold up a project potentially because there's no funding in place to have public safety personnel or flaggers or whatever you want to call them on scene on West Street. In this area, it's going to greatly impact the day-to-day operations of West Street School. I'm sure everybody here will hear from their constituents in the community when this starts. This is going to be a very complex task. I hope to have police officers there every single day of the week, and if we do not have them there, we will have, at minimum, full-time trained firemen, firewomen, paramedics, first responders, dispatchers who are trained in CPR, retired police officers. So I would really like to not have flaggers, and if my memory serves me correct, the South Street project never really had many flaggers, but Matt and Heather at the time worked with me just to ensure that project could keep rolling with traffic direction, and if any residents in the community needed directions elsewhere, detours, things like that. But paramount to me is safety. West Street is going to be a very difficult job. I can't say that enough. And there will be police officers there every day. And if not to repeat myself, it will be firefighters, dispatchers, or retired police officers there. I don't think it's ever going to get to flaggers. It may, and that's why, but I doubt it's highly unlikely, and if so, it will be minimal. But I just wanted you to hear that from the police side of the house. I prefer to have trained public safety professionals in the streets with communications, and that can actually help people if there's any issues.
Very good. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 19, vote to adopt the resolution required to be eligible for the parkland acquisitions and renovations for communities park fiscal year 23 grant and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. This was recommended unanimously on the P&D meeting on the 7th. Basically, this is an update to the state for the acquisition portion of the 76 Central property that we had voted on previously. They had asked, and if you look inside our packets, basically the state is just asking for some updates on language for, that we've already gone through, and then obviously the plans will go through Ms. Dean to the state.
Very good. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 20, vote to accept the quote from BSC Group Incorporated for $12,750 to provide construction administration for the Capillo Park and McCann Fields upgrades funded by the Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities Park Fiscal Year 22 grant, and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
For fiscal year 22, obviously, we've already been approved for the park grant to start working on over at Henry and Capillo, and this is just basically their oversight. Am I getting that right, Ms. Dean? Construction administration through the BSC Group.
Any questions? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 21, vote to accept the quote from E&E Systems for $15,359 to furnish and install security cameras at McCann Fields, funded through the CDBG Fiscal Year 21 grant. Approve entering into a service agreement with E&E Systems and allow the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, unanimous of all present at the P&D meeting on the 7th. This will be for security cameras over at the parks, specifically, I would state, from Capilla to Henry Street. There was a lot of questions raised, obviously, in the past year or two about cameras and security within the area, which will, this, I hope, will help fix some of it. And obviously, the police will have access to these cameras if anything were to go awry. It is if you look at the invoice, it talks about saving this information for a period of time, and then being able to pull it up whenever they need to pull it up. So it is recording at all times. Thank you.
Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 22, vote to ratify the service contract between Town of Southbridge and Power Product Systems, LLC, for the annual service of the generator at the community center in the amount of $430, and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. This was recommended unanimously by the subcommittee.
Any questions? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 23, vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21(3), to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining regarding all collective bargaining units, which, if discussed in an open meeting, may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body. Council will return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Lazo?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti?
Yes.
Councilor Montigny?
Yes.
Councilor Rivas?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yep.
Councilor Adams? Yes.
9 yes. We're moving to executive session. We will return to open session. I call the open session back to order. We're moving on to agenda item number 24, vote to ratify the collective bargaining agreement between the town of Southbridge and Mass COP Local 478 Southbridge Dispatch Union, effective July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2025, and allow the town manager to sign all related documents.
Second.
Councilor Lazo.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone to the next meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the postponement? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Very good. 8-1, the motion to postpone passes. Item number 25, Council's Forum. We'll start with Councilor Dow, since he's so happy.
I love you, Mike.
I love you too, Councilor.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Councilor Steves.
I don't have anything this week.
What's that?
I don't have anything. Thanks.
Very good. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the Southbridge PD for allowing me to go on a ride-along. You know, as somebody who's been listening to the police scanner and hearing what's happening in my community, I wanted to make sure that I was on the ground, hearing first and foremost what is happening. You know, I'm not just sitting up here getting a report. I wanted to actually hear what's on the ground happening. I was so impressed, first of all, with Sergeant Salisbury and his time he took with me. We had quite a good conversation, and I got to see some really interesting techniques and strategies used by the department in different situations. So it was really eye-opening to be there. I thank Sergeant Salisbury and Officer Bailey for their time, and I thank Chief for allowing me to do so. I encourage everyone to do so. I know I'm going to be doing so again. This is a great opportunity to really hear on the ground what's happening in our community, so I urge everyone up here to do so. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Rivas.
So I have a couple of things. I wanted to commend the literacy volunteers. I went to their volunteer recognition event last week, and it's such an amazing program in our community where the volunteers, you know, really put all of their time and effort into this program. They also honored some of their students who really work hard to, you know, to learn English and be able to engage with our community. They had the event at the Ruth Wells Arts Center, and the program has been running in our community for a long time. It's funded by the United Way. And yeah, if anyone wants to volunteer, they're always looking for volunteers for the program. So just wanted to mention that. And I was asked by the director of the library at Jacob Edwards to make sure that we mention for celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with a free performance by Flamenco Boston with live music and dance on Thursday the 29th from 6:30 to 7:30. And the program is supported by a grant from the Southbridge Cultural Council, which is an important program here in our community. And if you are around and available, please stop in and check out the flamenco dancers. I also wanted to reiterate that the Southbridge Community Connections from Seven Hills and our rec department are collaborating on a health fair this Thursday from 4 to 6 at Henry Street Park. There'll be games, prizes, presentations, a lot of different things for our community. So if you are around, please, you know, stop on by.
Very good. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. First of all, I did attend the Board of Health meeting last week, and there was a presentation on pay-as-you-throw by Irene Cogden of Mass DEP. It was a really interesting meeting. She brought forth a lot of information about how the program works. It sounded like something that might fit in this community, and I hope that if the Board of Health has another meeting this week, that she can come back and finish her presentation. It was a little disjointed there. She had to start and stop and start and stop because the Board of Health really has a lot on their plate. So I would suggest that we might have another council of the whole to discuss it and invite Ms. Cogden to something like that. But this Thursday, September 15th, if councilors can make it, I believe she will be invited to speak again. I also wanted to say that although I did talk to the town manager about some calls that I got from constituents, and he did look into it right away, there was one that I didn't get a chance to discuss with you, and that's the dirt pile down there on East Main across from the project at the AO. It's uncovered. A lot of the rain is washing it into the road. If we could get that covered, I'd appreciate it. And finally, everybody knows this Saturday will be Autumn Fest. I'm looking forward to going that down on the Common. I hope everybody can make it. Looks like a good time for all. And thank you. That's all I have.
Very good. Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. Just a few things tonight. Pleased to announce that the alumni football game that took place last year around Thanksgiving, I finally finished it. It was one of these projects that was the bane of my existence for about 10 months, but it's ready for the first week of football. It's on SCTV's YouTube page. It's being played on channel 194, I believe. And I got to thank former council chairman Jack Jovan, Sean Moriarty for doing commentary, among everybody else that helped. It's actually a really great watch if you have a couple hours and you have your Pioneer Pride. I attended the Italian Club picnic. It was a great time. I attended with my mother, and then I attended Southbridge High School's first football game against Bay Path on Friday, which there had to be at least 300 people there. It was a really great turnout, and they did not win, but everybody showed great Pioneer pride and tradition, and it was really awesome to be part of that. And the effort of Well, here we go. Autumn Fest is this Saturday. I can't wait to share a beer with everyone because there's a lot of cool breweries that are going to be there. And anybody, mainly former counselors that like to harass me on Facebook, if you want to meet me at the police station for a drink, some have this narrow vision that what I say here doesn't come from my heart and my mind and my own words, my own mouth. I'm nobody's puppet, so I'll buy the first round to any former counselors that want to have that discussion further with me. But on a more positive note, it's amazing to still see good citizens coming forward here. Ruben Rodriguez, I already said, we're so lucky to have him. And we had our first EHS meeting that was with the new citizen members, and I have to, point out that Mr. Ariel Ortiz has been at every council meeting since he got approved. And, it's just so great to see so many people that want to be a part of what we're doing. In hiring the health director and Greg Nicola tonight to work for the DPW, it just shows how many people really want to work here and how maybe we don't really have as much problems as we say. But the real kudos this week, in the last 3 weeks, go out to Councilor Ryan for helping coordinate the regular attendance of the school committee at these EHS meetings. It's a direct function of EHS now to give a little bit of empowerment to the school committee because of this joint effort here. And I think that in the effort of good optics here, I'm going to say everything I'm saying right now with a smile on my face. So, talking about, people have mentioned getting rid of subcommittee, and I think that's going down a bad path. We had this one meeting here that lasted 5 hours. It was like 130 degrees. And then we had a lot of conversation about some things that failed at subcommittee. But, both of those items failed up here. The drone had to be amended in order to get the support. And I think it goes to show you that subcommittees really are functioning properly. If you want to come here and argue what happened at subcommittee, it's perfectly fine. That's pretty much what we do here. But that meeting was way too long. I know, it stunk. But other than that, we need to put that conversation to bed, okay? And this discussion goes hand in hand with something that I just need to get off my chest here, because I feel like I'm personally defending myself when I say this, but, paraphrasing a conversation with the manager that I had, how we need to have good optics here, which is, I agree, but there was a point where we talked about how after the election, the environment for hiring hasn't been really that good. I just don't agree. I think, we get monthly emails from the town manager that shows that there's a hiring pandemic called the Great Resignation, which I do believe. But that's like saying one thing and saying the opposite. And me being on the opposite side of that. It's just, this blame game, making excuses for literally everything has to stop, which is why after tonight we're going to just continue moving forward, making all these great hires. It was a great move by HR to find that gentleman for health director. I can't wait to see what he does. Everybody knows I'm very pro-business, so I can't wait to see him work to help get businesses open. So everybody, if you want to point your fingers at me or the function of subcommittee or any of those things to be the reason that people don't want to work here, it's clear after tonight that you're just wrong. And you should ask yourself, are you part of the problem or the solution? Because I'm part of the solution. And it is such an awesome time serving with all you guys. If people don't see off camera the rapport that we all have together, I think if they did, they wouldn't be so quick to say such silly things. But thank you very much, everybody.
Very good. Councilor Lazo.
I'm lost for words for the first time, but something just came to mind. It's always when you talk about government appointments, contracts, government sometimes gets messy, but it's still the best government in the world. You look around the world and you see what's happening. We still got it going here in Southbridge. We're going to disagree. We got the right to disagree. We don't hate anybody, and we move forward. I've never been the one to put my head in the sand. If I see there's a problem, identify it. Sometimes the optics are not going to be good. That's not the most important thing in my tour of duty as a councilor. What it is to do the right thing because it is the right thing for the taxpayers of Southbridge. Going forward, I'm not worried about what happened 2 meetings ago, 3 meetings ago. Bottom line is, there's so much going on in the town of Southbridge. Stop complaining. Stop, the accusations. Blow your sleeves up and get the job done. Make the appointments. Don't sit on the appointments. Make the appointments. We had a tremendous amount of volunteers come forward. Board of Health is full. The health agents there. We had all boards and commissions. That's probably the most people I've seen in the last month appointed to the boards and commissions, which was a positive pump for the town of Southbridge. Tonight, our Hispanic community, we had a champion in the house. It doesn't get any better than this. This isn't happening in Charlton and Sturbridge, but we are the government, and government is not always, clean and prim and proper and optically perfect. And I think that's what good government is all about, having the right to disagree, but don't have to hate anybody and vote your conscience. A couple of issues I'd just like to say, I'd like to notify the public that Matt Desjardins, I wish him the best in his future endeavors, and he is still on my Christmas card list. As far as the town hall, and Councilor Dow brought out a good point about the deterioration of the town hall and how it should be a priority. Put it somewhere on the priority list where we start working on it. And I know that Councilor Adams and myself had a short discussion with Peg Dean at P&D, and she has said that there are funds, 50-50 matching funds, that she can be working on to get an architect in-house to find out, what are the problems and how to attack them. Finally, on Facebook, and I don't do a lot of Facebook, somebody was questioning my opinion on the dog park. Well, here it is. I am totally in favor of a dog park that is privately owned and privately run. And I think a dog park is like anything else that we did in Southbridge when we needed a skate park. When there were skateboards going down railings and down bank stairs and down the center core, everybody had a problem with skateboarders. You don't see them on Main Street anymore because we built a skate park. So now they're at the skate park and doing their thing. With the dog park, same thing. We need a place that dogs can go where they have an area to walk and have it professionally done. We've had one push earlier. It was supposed to be privately owned, not run by the town, not cleaned up by DPW, and I think we have to continuously move forward on that project. And finally, in closing, I attended the Firemen's Golf Tournament. I was in a foursome of Paul Power, Ken LeBlanc, John Tubby Matthew, and myself. I have a request to the town manager. If we could, we did come in last, and we lost about 200 golf balls. I would like to drone at the next golf tournament so I can locate some of those balls that we lost. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice Chair Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I don't think anything's going to help to find those balls. As far as 9/11 was concerned, thank you to the fire department who sent out the invite to the councilors and to everybody else. It was a good showing to pay homage to those that sacrificed their lives that day. It's still, to this day, I know exactly where I was at and what we were doing and then what happened right after that. So for those families and stuff like that, our condolences, may they rest in peace. And I thank the fire department of Southbridge for putting it on yet again and for the cable access to videotape it as well. Just some good news today. It's taken a little bit of time, but the town manager sent a few of us legislative decision on our liquor licenses that we requested back in April. I think it was April of last year. So I believe it's on the governor's desk to sign. They said to enact it. I'm looking forward to the liquor board and those individuals or companies that want to come to town and open an actual restaurant under a restaurant license. And I'm looking forward to that in the specific area. So that's a really good thing for this town. And looking forward to it. I do know there's a couple left because of they had to turn them in, but I will say thank you to the town manager, Peg Dean, Senator Fatman, Representative Durant for actually pushing that through to provide that to our town, much needed. And lastly, yeah, just like everybody else said about the Autumn Fest, it's going to go right at the Town Common from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So hopefully we'll have a great showing that day. It looks like a good day to do it too. So that's all I've got, Mr. Chair. Number 26, discuss the next meeting, Monday, September 26th, 7 p.m. right here in the dais. That's all I have.
Very good. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Meeting is adjourned.